Boobies.
Boobies.
Welcome back.
If you don't know, now you know.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
I've been away for a while.
Y'all niggas don't be watching.
They don't.
They don't
pay
fucking
attention to
But
shit.
Nieema is snatched, right?
Right.
Right. Look at this. She's drinking her lean shake. Yum.
Without the lean.
Unfortunately.
Is that a sponsor?
Word.
I
Now
wonder.
we gotta block it off in the video.
Right? Now I
has
can't
to-
even,
Word.
can't even show this shit now. Put
Can't
that
be
back
getting
in.
GNC money.
No.
Who?
I don't
Give us coins that she'll drink all the shit y'all want.
That's
now
a
we gotta
fact.
block out the name of the company too.
Like, bloop, you gotta put like the little ring.
Nah, that should be bloop. And then every time you have a couple of that bloop. So if you don't know, this is the extra ignorant segment. Previously it was on Patreon, but y'all motherfuckers don't want to pay for shit.
Because y'all cheap.
Yeah.
Moving
So we just gotta, continue to feed the people because we appreciate all the support that we do receive.
Right.
And it's gonna be available on YouTube. I released all the other ones that were private, so you can head to YouTube right now and watch those. And yeah, extra ignorance, if you don't know, is just a add-on segment that we have where we just talk about random shit, unscripted, say exactly how we feel, no
Is there
structure.
really ever a script? Or is it just more a list of questions?
I don't know. It's definitely no fucking structure.
Facts.
And there we have it. So
She got the energy.
let's just jump right into it. Now, we were talking before the camera was on, and you said this topic was something you was discussing at work the whole week. So the question is, can you be pro-black and still date outside your race?
I said yes. I caught a lot of slack for saying yes behind that.
Well,
Because
real quick before I don't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
but for those who don't know the context of it, because I think it's kind of stemming from Childish Gambino's latest video. So he came out with the video, and then people, I guess, did their Googles, and they realized that he's dating or he's with a white chick. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how could he come out with a visual like this and be pro-black and be dating a white woman? So people.
But then his situation is unique. Well, I won't say unique, but his situation is different because I believe he explained that when he was younger. For people that don't know, Childish Gambino is from Atlanta, and he's not from like some privileged sort of background. He grew up in the hood just like many of us.
Did he really grow up in the hood? I heard he didn't.
He grew up in Stone Mountain.
Yeah, well, it's
adjacent.
It's not. Great.
It's not. It's kind of like almost middle classish.
But
he's familiar with all the trappers and
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he explained when he was younger, he would pursue black women, and they throw on he's the weird guy title, so they always shunned him.
Yeah,
So in turn, he just dated white women because that's who he became attracted to. Because basically, he had no other option.
Yeah.
So that's how that kind of started.
And I get his
Sentiment.
perspective
Yeah.
when it comes to that, but in a lot of his stand-up comedy and stuff like that, he talks a lot of shit about black women. Like, because his experiences was bad, he straight up don't like black women. He's very rude and disrespectful, and it comes off as let's say satire. It's just him being a straight up dick, and he's just using his comedy as a way to express how broken he is on the inside. That's what that is about. And it was another perspective we had. Like, he's not necessarily saying anything great in his video. He's actually making fun of people in the hood, which he does sometimes. He definitely makes fun of us.
Well, I only saw the video like twice.
it.
Is there what segment where he was making fun of the hood?
The whole thing, instead of it being something that he's talking about, trying to bring light to, is more of he's making fun of it, but everyone has their own perspective of how they see the video. So a lot of people have been saying, he really don't fuck with y'all like that. Like, he's actually making fun of y'all. Then he isn't necessarily trying to, like,
That's an interesting take because most of the
and it's been said a lot over the past couple of weeks. I'm like, really?
I haven't heard that.
I'm like, really? And I had to go back and start reading stuff. And like a white girl on Twitter, she said that. She was like, I love Gambino before he was black. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you think he's saying something so profound and standing up for you, but y'all don't even realize he's actually making fun of you. And then it was other things after that when I started looking into it. I was like, what the fuck? And then I started to like think about his past comedy shows I would like listen to, and I'm like, yo, like, he's saying some real low key.
Well, I've never listened to his comedy, so by you telling me that's an interesting take. Right, and then him making fun of, because I didn't take that from the video.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Because most people were saying, based on the concept of the video, it was the dancing and everything. That's what you are focused on, which society typically focuses on. while all the chaos that goes on in the world, we don't pay attention to because we're so focused on like these dance challenges or whatever. So I kind of was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's how that's why I asked, like, what specific point was he like really making fun of the hood? Because I don't.
The whole entire thing and his whole entire career is pretty much summed up. And then I guess the video, which is kind of like everybody had their own perspective based on it. It's based on perspective of how some people saw it. People who have been a fan of him for a really long time. It's like he's actually making fun of y'all. And then people who just only know him from the show Atlanta or him from dating Janae Aiko a couple of years ago, they see it as, oh, okay, he's really like standing up for us. And then we realize he has a white woman, not to have a problem about it. That's when the whole question come up, can you be pro-black and, you know, date outside your race?
Right.
And at first I said, hell yeah, you can be. But then it's like you're not really trying to procreate and make more black people. More black, you know, children and stuff. You're not doing that necessarily. So how can you necessarily be pro-black?
I mean, but maybe because you still want, because I think the thing with the pro-black is like you want better for your people.
This shit broke. Go ahead.
You want better for your people. So, I mean, that's a good point. Like, you're not creating a black child per se.
But is that more pro-black in thought or more pro-black in the sense of like expanding the race? You know what I'm saying? Because you can be mixed and still be pro-black, I feel.
You can, but then if
to a certain extent,
if you're mixed, you're still not black. A lot of times black people always want to include people in that. You're not black. And I had to come to that decision. Okay. If you're white and you're black, then you're biracial, you're Italian, you're this. Whatever you want to self-identify as, that's fine. But you're not black. You're both. Okay. And I think we need, as people of color, we need to stop trying to always include people into our shit. Not every Dominican person is Afro-Latina. Like, I think we should just stop saying that. Because they're not. Not all Dominicans have African blood in them. They don't.
Right.
So that's another thing we need to stop doing too. Not every Dominican or whatever is Afro-Latina or Latinx, whatever.
Latinx, that's a new one.
No, I've heard of Latinx.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a thing.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not like that.
I mean, man, it is complicated.
It
is complicated.
Because I thought about it's like you're pro-black, meaning like you're for black love. So you're going to date someone else who's black or like you. And you're going to make more black children and so on and so forth to, like you said, expand the race and keep the race rich. Just like, and I feel like black people really not really into that no more these days. You have, you know, Latinos and you have Indians. They would stick with their culture. They would marry within their culture and help expand their race because they want someone who is like them. Someone who they can relate to. Someone who has the same struggle. When they say things, they don't necessarily have to explain it. So whereas people of color, especially black Americans, even Caribbean Americans, we are more prone to wanting to date outside our race because it's more like a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I got such and such. I got a white girl, a white man who actually like me, whatever the case may be. I think black men get more slack for it necessarily because in music and
they promote it more.
They promote it more. In
they
movies,
glorify it.
Yeah, movies they promote it more, and I think that goes back to that slave mentality of feeling like dating a white woman was bad, but once you get a chance to do it, it's like, ha, I did it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I think that mentality flowed over until nowadays, and it's still kind of like a badge of honor, and it's like a slap in the face more of, it could just be, I really love this person sometimes, you know? Like, a lot of times, I don't think it's necessarily based on because I actually love this person. It's just that, well, I don't want to date that black girl, but this white girl feeling me, so I'm going to date her. And then,
Mr. Like, West is in the building.
And then that's how it comes off as. I've always dated outside my race, and I can relate to
you said that I won't say it's not been your choice, but you kind of been pushed.
Yeah, that's why I said I can relate to Childish Gambino when he said, like, those black girls didn't necessarily like him because of he was a little bit different. He was probably a little socially awkward. You know, they wasn't used to that. So he dated other people, and that's how I felt too. But it's never been a point in my life to where I said, I never want to marry a black man because I would love to marry a black man. But if it doesn't happen, then I have to look elsewhere. And I think that's what it comes to with black women. It's like if I can't find a black man who loves me, wants to be with me this way, I have to look elsewhere. Yeah, I have to look elsewhere. That's where that comes from. So as I think it's more of like a trophy wife type of situation when it comes to like black men.
What you mean?
Like it's a thing. Like I got a foreign chick.
Oh, okay.
You know, like one of those kind of things.
Well, I can see that. So then, okay. So you said you can be pro-black and date outside your race.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought at first. I think I kind of changed my mind. Or like I'm in limbo right now. I don't.
Yeah, I was like listening to you. I was like, okay, you said yes.
I said no. At first I thought you can be pro-black and date.
So
outside
just
your
the
race.
fact that they're not having black children.
Yeah, because I think someone explained to me the whole point of being pro-black is because you want to expand your race. You want to create more.
But where does that definition come from?
I disagree.
Yeah.
Like I would felt like pro-black would mean you want more for your people and you still value them.
Yeah,
just because you date outside your race doesn't mean you devalue them.
It doesn't mean you devalue them, but you're not necessarily trying to make more of. Think about it. We have more. We're getting to a point to where we have more mixed people than we have black people.
Yeah, they released that statistic like I think like a few years ago. By the next 20 or 25 years, gonna be
so then it's
everybody's gonna be mixed.
Yeah, so then you have that. We're not necessarily trying to like it's like niggas is going extinct. Pretty much. We're not trying to I don't know, I can't really explain it. Like make sure we're still here. Make sure we still have a dominant bloodline when being black because we're mixing
Can you say
everything up?
Devil's advocate. Can you say because we're not as segregated as we used to be before, that plays a role?
We're not as segregated?
Yeah, like before, maybe
else?
back in like
that
the 50s or 60s,
yeah.
Everybody was in their little pockets. You had Spanish Harlem, you had your parts of Brooklyn that was just strictly black. But now, over the years, people have moved, immigrants are everywhere. Now it's like, okay, now you're getting exposed to other people. Because I always used to say, like, because women would get, they would have commentary about, like, black male athletes. Or how shit would go bad, or when they start making money, they always end up with a white woman. I'm like, okay, yeah, there are some of them, or probably a majority of them, that do frown upon black women. But then at the same time, if you're looking at some of these athletes, since in fucking junior high school, they're touted as, top tier talent. So they're not going to a public school. They're already getting recruited to go to like Christian academies or private institutions. And most of those schools are going to be flooded with just white kids. So you're going to grow up being around just more white women as opposed to black women. So by the time you get to college, if that's all you see around you, you kind of almost are programmed to just deal with that type because that's all you see around you.
Yes, but then that's still bullshit because then when you go into college, you're interacting with different people. So you're still meeting different people. You're going to meet
But they're going to private institutions where tuition is like 6 figures.
Not all black people are poor. There are black people.
Yeah, but the numbers are not as big.
But then you still want to be around people that's like yourself. So you're pretty much that's what I'm saying, you're allowing yourself to be in this one box.
But I'm saying, if that's something they're used to since they're younger, because that's what I said. That's what I was starting with. Like they've already been removed from their community besides being at home or in their neighborhood. Like if I'm a high school athlete and I'm at a fucking Christian academy, it's gonna be majority white. By the time I get to college, it's like this is all I'm used to. So even if there are black people in the institution, it's still like
I
okay.
feel like that's a dub because I went to a lot of schools where it was very mixed, and a lot of my colleges and universities was very white, and I still sought out to be around black people and want to date black men, even though it didn't work out. That's still something I want to do. So to say that just because this has been your upbringing the whole entire time, you're still not trying to explore and venture off. That's kind of like
you are a woman. We already know how men are trash. Niggas is
it's
trash.
like you're being lazy.
But at a certain point, it's like even if you're brought up in a type of situation where you're only exposed to one type of person, it's not like you're never going to experience other people in different walks of life. So even outside of like the schooling system, you're gonna get to a point. You're gonna bump into somebody. You're gonna probably move to a different city where you're gonna interact with different races and different types of people. So, I mean, you could use the excuse of, I haven't seen a black person forever, but it's like, nigga, at some point you were going to.
Right, you're black.
Well, I'm not even saying you're not gonna see one. I'm just saying that probably most of your experiences is gonna be with another race because this is what you're put around.
Right.
Yeah, but in the same token, it's like.
I mean, yes. At the end of the day, you always have a choice.
Yeah, but look at the reverse. When you've always been around black people and you get someplace else, they don't always stay around black people. They explore and they go ahead. They want to be around, the Indian people, and they want to be around, the Latin people. They want to be around the white people and stuff. It's the same exact thing. So like, why can't it be the other way around? Like, just because I'm around white people all the time doesn't mean I can't explore being around black people. Just because I'm around black people don't mean I can't explore being around white people.
The environment matters because you'll see like there are examples of like white people that don't have money and they do live in the hood and they tend to act like us because that's what they're used to. That's what they're around. So they don't fall within
behavior issues and dating issues.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that we're not really talking about is the fact that there is kind of like a self-hatred in a sense. Yeah. I mean, in certain cases where it's like, all right, there's a difference between having a preference, like, all right, my preference is, white chicks because of ABC.
It's definitely more self-hate as opposed to preference.
Right, and then it's like, I only like white chicks because I don't like black chicks for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people don't explore that because they feel like, oh, well, everyone should have their preference and you can like whoever you like. But it's the reasons why you like a certain person. I think that's what's problematic when it comes to men that date outside their race only because they're denouncing their own race for their own prejudices.
They've shown it time and time again. Whenever they're asked about it or whenever anything comes up, they always take the opportunity to belittle black women.
Right.
Yeah.
There's never been an example where I've seen a dude actually say, I like this woman because of whatever, because of who she is, because, she's a great person or whatever.
Right.
It's always, I like her because black women used to do A, B, C, and D. And so it's like, it's almost a fucking shot to her and a shot to black women.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
same time.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's that shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't really care about what the fuck people do. People just make up their own situations for whatever reason they do shit. Some more times than not, it'd be fucking irrational. But I don't think because somebody dates outside of their race and they are pro-black, does that denounce. I think at the end of the day, if you're trying to, lead a cause or speak about things that would eventually have benefit to the people altogether, I can't denounce that. Now, if you are the type to do that and then also denounce our people at the same time, then it's like, all right, like, bro, I can't take you seriously. Like the Childish Gambino thing. See, I wasn't aware about all his past stuff that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, now it's like, all right, or you almost like somewhat copping a plea. Like you now is it more of a marketing thing as opposed to like this is how you genuinely feel.
Like, oh, he could have a change of heart. I don't believe people could automatically change like that.
Yeah, I didn't believe in that shit either.
Like if you always been a KKK, all of a sudden you're like, no, I like black people, bitch. No, you don't. You're lying.
Like
Stop.
That's like the Sabrina Claudio thing that me and Bianca talked about on the Culture podcast. There was I don't know if y'all familiar with that.
I know of her. I didn't hear about her before all that shit, but
basically, they found an old Twitter account of hers where she was just strictly dedicated to just saying derogatory shit about black women. Mm-hmm. And some people, feel as though, well, she was young, so it's okay. Like, people change, and I feel like, nah, like stuff like that, that's embedded in you.
Facts.
Like that's learned behavior. Like. That's not no shit. That's like the fucking dude that that black dude that's homosexual and he says I'm delivered, I'm not gay no more. It's like, come on, bro.
No, you still real sassy. I could tell with all your
come on, bro.
You haven't been delivered anywhere.
Yeah, some people give her a pass. It's like, yeah, it was young, she made a mistake or whatever. I'm like, nah, there's just certain things you don't. There's just certain things you do not say. You do not do.
Ignorant and young.
The same thing with the fucking Kanye situation. I understand what he was trying to say from the grand scheme of things. It's ironic because he's an artist and he's a rapper that he delivered it completely wrong. But at the end of the day,
he said what he said. And
at the end of the day, there's just certain shit you do not say, regardless of what. Regardless, I don't care what environment you're in. There's just certain shit you do not say.
Kanye been falling off the wagon for a long time now. He said what he said and he meant that shit. I don't think he said it wrongly. That's exactly what the fuck he meant because he talks about himself in third person. He feels like he's bigger than everything and everyone. He self-proclaims himself a fucking genius. Like
it's between him and the people propping him up.
I just feel as though it's a combination of things. Like it's the isolation that he's brought upon himself. It's, the type of people that he's around. Right. It's still him not really dealing with his mother's passing. And it's just him just fucking, because he's such an emotional person. Right. It's because he's such an emotional person. He just automatically said what was the first thing off of his mind. He didn't really think about what he was going to he didn't really think about what he was saying.
Yeah, and then he made that. No, I feel like he knew exactly what the fuck he was saying. And he made that comment about people not helping nobody in Chicago. I was like, but what are you doing? Because you're making uniforms for schools in Calabasas, but you don't give a fuck about where you came from. So you have to be careful what you're saying.
He's definitely a lost nigga.
And then it's like you made the statement that you made. It's like, but what are you doing to help? Now, someone Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner, they were actually helping people. So if I'm helping you, you choose not to take my help, then you choose to live that life then.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not helping anyone, then you can't make that statement.
Yeah.
You can't. You're not doing shit. So how you make that? How you trying to compare yourself to people like that?
And then he ties back to the whole pro-black thing, because in the past with his music, you know, he would express things that were definitely pro-black and like kind of supporting the people. But now he's just, what the fuck?
He's far removed. He's far removed from everything. He's just a different.
Just give me the old Kanye, please.
He's gone. He's gone.
No, I mean, like, I'll keep the old music. Like, I'll just remember him for who he was. I don't care about this new shit. I don't. I'll just listen up to a certain point, and that's it for me. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm in the same space.
I'm not throwing away his music, but he's trash. Yeah,
I'm in the same space. As far as
good shit's good shit. Sorry.
I don't really have an opinion about. I don't know. I think I'm pro-black, and I date outside my race. I don't see anything wrong with that. My family, they date white women, and they're definitely down for the cause. One of them that I know for sure. So I don't. I haven't met the other one yet, but she seems cool. You know, she's pretty.
We've said this on the show numerous times, like how much we want better for everybody.
Yeah, but I totally get where that comes from. It's like you're pro-black, but you're not necessarily representing that in your personal life. So I get that. You're like pro-black and for the people, and then you have somebody on your arm that's somebody completely different who can only relate to you because they are empathetic to your struggle and your people's struggle, but they don't.
So do you think they would, quote unquote, get a pass if it's like, okay, not only am I pro-black and I'm dating somebody outside of my race, but we're having healthy conversations. So
you have no choice but to have those healthy
you be surprised.
And
Come on, we know all these niggas is not talking about their culture and everything.
I just said you should. You have no choice, and you should. People don't.
Yeah.
But even
if they were to, do you think that would change?
No, because they can only be empathetic to your situation of you being a black person in America, and even outside, they can only be empathetic. They don't necessarily know how that feels.
Gotcha.
You know,
they don't know
that feeling.
They've never had the black experience, so it's not the same thing.
So it's not the same. They can be sympathetic and empathetic. They can, try to relate and educate themselves as much as possible, but. Just like I would never know what it's like to be a white woman, they would never know what it's like to be a black woman. You just won't know.
Probably a trash experience.
They just won't know.
They're the worst.
Not all of them. I mean, but it kind of goes to like, can you be pro-black and have like white friends or have white relationships, and it's not even outside of dating, but just like interacting with white people in the regards of like, oh, we're friends or we're co-workers or we're cool, and you know what I'm saying.
I think it's just a level of understanding that's required of them.
Yeah.
Like you have to be respectful about what it is I'm dealing with, or what it is to be, for my culture. Like you got to respect this certain terminology I may use. You got to respect how I may feel about certain things that I see in media. Like you may not necessarily, may have a comment or opinion about it, but you have to at least respect it.
Right.
And I think that's the only thing when it comes to that.
Because I have a lot of friends who just don't necessarily have friends outside of other races other than being black, because that's just how they feel, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I do think that if we were so segregated that we probably would be doing a lot better now.
I'd agree. I've said that as well.
I've definitely thought that too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have white friends. I have all kinds of friends.
I mean, everybody that fucking works at Dubway is amazing.
Yeah, and they're white.
They get riled up when we started having real conversations.
Ready to fight. Go outside with us.
But that comes down to more perspective and thinking outside and being more open-minded than just being
not
white.
Really seeing color. Exactly. It's like you're a human being at the end of the day.
I mean, you could be white, but if you're closed-minded, then it just really doesn't make any sense. And that goes for everybody. Like, it's just a matter of perspective and being open-minded and accepting new ideas and not necessarily shutting someone down or something down because you can't think beyond a certain point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to pro-black, for me, it's like, as I said, I embrace it more as a mental state and as you apply it to your people, but at the same time, you still could coexist in a white space. I think you could still date outside your race in a sense.
Yeah,
it's just in the sense of like, you can't let that overtake you if you really are pro-black. You know what I mean? Like you can't let your relationship with a white person define who you are in that regard. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to what you're doing for your people, how you're representing yourself, and how you're representing people that look like you. And even if you have a partner that's outside of that, they have to respect, they have to respect what you're about and what your causes are.
Your culture and everything.
And your culture. Respect is to the point where it's like, all right, they're going to support you however they can. Not necessarily be on some Rachel Dolezal shit and like, oh, well, I'm Susan. No more. Now I'm insert African Wakanda name. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? It has to be. That's where I feel pro-blackness comes from. You know what I mean? And a lot of people embrace it. A lot of people don't. I mean, there was a whole thing with Jesse Williams at the time where people were kind of giving him flack for
Idris Elba.
Right.
Also, I think also for some of his commentary.
Wait, what happened with him?
I think he said something about
something
about darker skinned women in comparison to lighter skinned women, shit like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
So do you think can there be a happy medium?
No, there'll never be a happy medium. It's America.
Happy medium. Oh, I see what you did there. Happy medium in the sense of what?
Like the example you just eloquated, like you can be pro-black and date somebody, but as soon as, because a lot of the times we don't know who these people are dating, and as soon as we find out, and we just discredit we just discredit everything that they do and stand for. It's like, bruh, what the fuck? Who they decide to go home to should be none of our business. If they're whatever they do on the front lines is what really matters.
It doesn't matter.
Serena Williams went through the same shit recently. Like, when people discovered who she was dating and she had a baby with, people were ready to denounce her too. And it was just
it's like she dated black men her whole life and that shit never worked. Now she's with a white man and it's actually working and she's getting slapped for it.
Right,
so it's the complete opposite.
But that's the thing I'm saying is like, can we get a happy medium? Because we don't know the context of these people's relationship.
Well, right.
So it's like y'all making a whole, having a whole opinion. And you don't know what the hell is going on. Like, I've seen the Serena Williams shit. Niggas was ready to throw her in the trash. And it's like, for what? Dumb. We don't know the context of any of the relationships.
And half the dudes who talking shit didn't even find her attractive either. That's what blew my.
Which is crazy. Are you blind?
They didn't find her attractive. But you're
But those usually are the ones.
Like,
those are usually the ones.
About? And like I said earlier, a lot of times black women date outside their race because that's like the final choice. If this ain't working for me, it's a whole show to Rome with Love with black women who it just didn't work for them with black men. So then somebody said, hey, maybe it's time y'all try something different. Let's go to Rome, meet someone outside of your race and see if you can make a connection there. And it's beautiful to see how someone else appreciates you. And then we have this ideal that a woman has to stay with a black man through everything that he goes through. We gotta ride and die with you.
Nope.
All this kind of bullshit. Be with you when you ain't got shit.
This is my stop.
And then you don't. And then the man won't do the same for a woman.
I blame DMX.
They won't do the same for a woman.
DMX fault.
This is definitely DMX's fault. He was the first nigga to say ride or die. And then that shit just became a mood back then. And then it was just like, why the fuck is this shit a ride or die? You didn't see that fucking interview with the dude? The dude was talking on the radio station and his boy was next to him like, yo, my dude gotta die for me, you gonna die. And the nigga was like, what? Is you dumb? Like, why would anyone agree to a ride or die situation? That's just wild.
That's probably the biggest thing. Like,
thank you.
All the, hoopla and shit that people want to say about certain things is like, there's structural things that we have to change in our community first that we really need to tackle, because there's a whole bunch of shit that goes on that is not beneficial towards the man, is not beneficial towards the woman, is not beneficial towards the woman, is not beneficial towards the community, the families, and it's like we putting ourselves through so much bullshit, and at the end of the day, nobody wins when the family feuds. So it's like, what the fuck are we really doing?
We gotta clean inside.
We having all these big ass arguments about people that are not part of our lives.
Right, in our own lives, it's like.
And then we're fucking walking oxymorons. Like, we holding people accountable for shit that we don't even hold accountable for ourselves. So it's like,
and that's not to say that we're to blame for the outside factors affecting us, because a lot of people say shit like, oh well, black people complain about ABC, but then their lives ain't even right and they gotta get the shit together, and that's why all these things are happening. No, it's a matter of we should be focusing on ourselves always, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah, we should always come first.
You know what I'm saying? And get our shit together either way.
Right.
And then, if shit happens and pops up on the outside that affects us, like police brutality and all that bullshit, then we should band together and say, yo, fuck with this clan, you know what I'm saying? Because we gotta hold ourselves accountable and hold ourselves and support each other. So, I mean, But everyone tends to spin shit the way they want to spin it.
Yeah, everybody even turns the conversation to their narrative.
Everybody's trash! I'm so angry. See, this is why I don't want to talk about this topic. It's been so tight, son.
It does. Like, when I be at work, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this today, y'all.
And the thing is, I can't even talk about it at my job because I'm surrounded by...
Yeah.
People of other races.
When the Trayvon Martin thing happened...
The one race happened.
The Trayvon Martin thing happened, and...
I try to keep them out the clear.
Thank you, but the one.
I was at Malia Mills, mostly white, and the Trayvon Martin thing was going on. And one of our white coworkers made a comment. I wish I could remember the comment she made. And my friend Adonica, she's Jamaican, and this went off. All I know, she calling me, this bitch said this about Trayvon. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm off today.
Did she slide in a bummer clot?
No, she didn't.
Damn it! Come on.
She didn't.
She missed the opportunity.
But it was something really bad, like, oh, like, it was his fault. Like, he shouldn't have had a hoodie on. It was some dumb shit she said. You be like, really,
bruh?
Sis? And this is a white woman who only wants to date black men, and you made that comment. That's the shit I talk about there.
They'll be the ones.
That's why I said it's a little bit different when men date outside their race, because men, like you said, come from a self-hatred place. They're not educating these women about their culture and how to be respectful of them and of the women a part of their culture, whether they're related to them or not. So it's like they feel like I only gotta be respectful to his family. Fuck everybody else that's not his family. And that's the issue that I have right there. Men don't educate these women. You let them feel good about themselves based on stereotypical bullshit.
The women don't even fucking educate themselves. Not even necessarily about their culture. A lot of times they don't even educate themselves about the relationship. Cause I think you and I had this conversation once. I think it was like some story they had. It was some story that they had online, like this barbershop or whatever. The black dude, and he has a white girlfriend, and he typically goes to that same barbershop or whatever. And I think one time he went to go do something and he left her at the barbershop. And so they started asking her particular questions and whatnot. And then that's when they started to like really like, shed what it was that their relationship was built on. Like it was built on nothing. Like all this whole imagery she had in her head about what the relationship really was like, nah, he don't really value you like that, sis. Mm-hmm. Like you just a fucking trophy. Like you just a pawn in the whole thing. Like you think he fucking with you, and you think you getting all this.
He just doing it because he tight.
Yeah. So a lot of times I don't even pay them motherfuckers no mind because they may feel good about themselves, but then when you have a real heart-to-heart conversation with either party, the male or the female, outside of them being together, then you start to unravel the truth, and it's like, oh, y'all, all of y'all fucked up.
Right, because no one breaks it down to the reasons why. They're just like, oh, well, she's cute or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they're not really breaking down the reasons why. They're not getting behind the shit. They're not really digging deep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why would they?
Yeah.
Trash.
Man.
And there we have it.
Suck a dick.
But on the upside, we're still black. And we're still about that life.
Yep.
And if you guys want to watch any more of this shit, then support us, please.
Yes. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube.
We accept black coins, white coins, Mexican coins.
About to put all the Cash App names on here.
Monopoly money.
Translate it into different languages.
We take scamming money too. I mean, ain't nobody got no marker.
As long as the chips are hitting. And the IRS is not after us. I say, why not?
I don't know if I got that much energy to be dipping and dodging the feds right now.
And look, you dip and dodge in life.
This is true.
So,
do I really want to add on another one?
Catch me if you can.
Shit, we could get Khaled the fuck out of here too.
Oh, that's another topic for another day.
No.
I mean, we got time.
No. Give me a break. Shut up.
And somebody was like, he over here sweating meat juice on her.
Right.
Wait, did you see the fucking cartoon of like the girl actually giving somebody a big person oral sex, and she's like holding the fat on top of her head?
Pretty much.
Yeah, they have one of those.
Has the fucking nerve to not fucking eat pussy. Like, you should be even lucky your wife is still with you. Number one.
I just feel like
houseway.
I feel like the jig is up on him.
Because it's some Hotep bullshit.
Like,
I feel like the jig is up on him if you want to just look at things from a whole perspective. Like, how long they been together, and we're now visually seeing her around.
Right.
This is probably what his brand being as big as it's been, so it's probably more beneficial for him to have her being viewed like he ain't no real nigga. So like, I'm not surprised he would say some fuck shit like that.
I always hated that. I always hated DJ Khaled. There was just something about it.
Now you know why.
No, I mean, because mind you, that interview that's just
the interview
old,
was old.
But still, it's just like, There's something about... I always hated that. Man, fuck him.
We not the best.
He's not the best. He's the worst.
Wow.
And then... wild thoughts. So again, we want to appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. You can follow our Instagram pages personally and the show page. Share, rate, review, comment. I don't care if you have the worst shit to say. It's better than nothing. So we'll see y'all next week.
All right.
Yes. Bye.
Laters.